everybody, and welcome back to episode 12 of the Designated Players Podcast. We are here joined with a very special guest, somebody that I got to work very closely with the last 3 years, and I'm now lucky enough to call one of my very good friends who has a resume that it would be a shame to try and list everything because there's so much going on. But we're joined with Tracy Blake, boss to me, Papa T to a lot of other people, former striker for Bolton Wanderers Youth Club, played for AC Pro Aviano in the Italian Interregionale, all-military team captain for the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Air Force veteran, former assistant coach at Cortland Women, Oswego Women, Cayuga Community College, former head coach at Keystone Oaks High School, ex-head coach of Lakefront Soccer and GPS, current Region 1 ODP coach, and head coach of the single greatest men's soccer program in D3 history, Alfred University.
Yeah!
How you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As we keep moving forward, I just want to wish everybody throughout the world that they stay safe and they listen to the guidelines that have been given, and let's get this pandemic away from us. But thank you very much.
Absolutely. We hope everybody is practicing social distancing. We know it's getting tough. It's going on to this is now week 5. We've been saying stuff about this already. So, it's tough, but we got it. Once we hit that peak, it's all downhill from there. So let's do our part and stay as far away from anybody else as you can, get this thing beat, and let's go out and enjoy life after this. Let's move into Scarf of the Week, right? And another guest who has a scarf instead of one of our hosts. So, Connor, one day we'll get you one. Boss is showing
I have a scarf.
Boss
it's
is
just one scarf.
One. We'll,
University.
That's right, baby. Boss and I are sharing the same scarf today. Alfred University.
I'll show you that as well.
Oh, love that. Very nice. Boss and I are both rocking Alfred Saxon gear because, as we mentioned before, greatest D3 men's soccer program in the country. No debates. Even if a certain guest of ours thinks differently. Adam, what are you rocking today?
It's going to be a long episode. I have my Celtic scarf on. I've changed. I realized that most of the scarves I have are some combination of red and blue with a little bit of random colors. So I wear the green to kind of change things up. But I have to at least defend myself in some capacity. I have my Ithaca College shirt on. The map of Ithaca in the background. We're not in the same conference anymore. We don't have to fight.
Yeah, but we play you anyway. So
we've moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we should have beat you last year.
We absolutely should have. But that's stories.
It was a great contest. It was a great contest.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. We took them all the way to overtime, and I thought we had a chance before they beat us. I thought we had a chance.
Yeah, we had a good chance in overtime, but we didn't have a lot of chances in the regular game. But so we did get to take them to OT.
Fine.
Boss, why don't you let us know how you ended up at Alfred U? Give us just kind of a quick run through on basically where you started, from when you started playing and then how you got into coaching. Just a really brief one because we'll go in detail later on. But how did you end up at one of the very many schools that are better than Ithaca?
It was a quick journey actually. I started getting back into coaching in 2006. And got my licenses all the way from the E license all the way up to the A license in 3 years. And then I started applying for jobs in colleges, and I realized that you needed a degree to become a college coach. So I went to school and went to online school and got a degree in sports management. Graduated in 2012. Started some volunteer coaching at Cayuga, and then Oswego State University in upstate New York, and then got a job at Cortland. Oswego and Cortland were both on the women's side. Cayuga was on the men's side. And then from Cortland, I got offered. I applied for the job at Alfred. Unfortunately, I was accepted to take that wonderful university and to create a very good team.
Yeah, and very good team is exactly how I describe it. Because I was there through your transition from when you started up until now, and the change has been fantastic. And we're not here to talk about Alfred U, even though we could for hours, because we are that good and have that many things to talk about. But I believe Adam's got the next question.
Yeah, so we'll start off just simple playing career, and then we'll obviously work into more MLS and your coaching background. But first question: biggest differences between living in England versus the U.S.
As far as soccer is concerned, or just
Yes.
social?
Either.
Okay. So we name it football. It's a different sport over there. And the big difference is just the size of the country really brings out the fact that you can have a league of 25 teams or 20 teams, and supporters can travel all over the country to support their team. We're stuck in the United States that we're so big, unfortunately. It's like creating a one national league for the whole of Europe, which they are trying to do, I think. But in England, which is about the size of Illinois, it's a little bit smaller than Illinois. There's 92 professional teams in England, the size of Illinois. Texas is 5.5 times bigger than England. So it's one of them where it's a lot easier to support your team and to be built up. Now, when you're growing up in England, you either came where I came from in the north of England. You either came from a football town or a rugby town, and your schools sometimes didn't have both. In fact, a lot of schools didn't have both football and rugby. So I was fortunate enough. I was raised in a football town, and my house was about 5 miles from the old Burndon Park where Bolton are from, and that's who I grew up supporting. But in the papers, it's in the back pages. It's all they do throughout the winter is soccer on the back pages, and then they have pullouts every weekend for all the goals and the games and everything. And it's just a totally different beast. However, saying that, when I first came to the States back in '81, soccer was horrible here. Horrible. I mean, Barney would have been an all-star American, all-American. I mean, that's how bad it was. So it's one of them where we've grown a lot in the last, how long is 81 ago? I know 21, so 40 years.
40 years.
So we've grown a lot in that time. And I think if we could maybe do what they do a lot in baseball and do an American League, West and American League East, or have 4 leagues, and they play in their league, and then maybe the top 3 or 4 in each division play in the playoffs to get the national champion. But also in Europe, throughout the world, that we have relegation and promotion, which we don't have here. I think if we could get that, the USL teams might start coming up. And but that's my thought about that.
Yeah,
I only play soccer and I only played football in winter, and then in summer I play some cricket and I play a little bit of tennis.
Okay. Yeah, the promotion relegation is something listeners of this podcast know all too well. I think we've spoken about it probably 3-4 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
Definitely dive into it a little toward the end.
Before we move on, I just want to point out, as I mentioned last week, had I not gotten hurt, I would have been an All-American. I just want to point that out.
Okay. I missed that last. I must have turned it off before as you were saying it.
Yeah, whatever helps you sleep at night. But yeah, I remember I studied in London for 4 months my sophomore year, and I read the paper every single day on the way to school because of how much football there was. Just half of the newspaper was sport related. And when I told my mom, like, yeah, I'm reading the paper every day on the way to class, it's great, she couldn't believe it. She's like, you read the newspaper? I was like, yeah, well, it's all football. Obviously, it's interesting.
And going with that, I when I first met my wife, I went to England. She was still in Germany, and I told her I was going to church, and she said, "You don't go to church here. Why are you going to church there?" And I said, "No, it's a pub called the church." So we went to the church.
Me now?
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
All right. Well, before I jump into my question, as the only tennis player in the podcast, I appreciate hearing that you play. Since we are a soccer podcast, I generally am outnumbered, but it's really nice to hear other people playing. So, but I'll jump into my question, not to get off track. What was it like training for a local club that's got a professional team in the Premier League?
It's the dream. I mean, it's just the dream. You play for your high school, and you then play in a local league, and you get noticed. And then they ask you to come and train. You go down 3-4 times a week and train with the A and B team, and you see the first team training, and they're your heroes. And it's just a dream. And it's the training wasn't much different than what I got in the club, other than the fact that the passion and the commitment was where I was, because I still have that same passion, commitment, and desire for the sport that I did when I was a 5-year-old and when I was a 15, 17-year-old. So it was just great to get inside the walls and do the training with the team.
So do you think that there was any added pressure, being that this is a team that is in such a high tier?
Tremendous pressure. When I was with Bolton, they're actually in the second division, which is now the championship. So they weren't in the Premier League when I was training with them. Excuse me, but they were in the second division, and the pressure was it gets in all the local papers that myself was on the team, trying to work out and blah blah blah. So there was a lot of pressure. I enjoyed it though, because I thought it's where I belonged. It's where I could do some work. Obviously, it wasn't where I belonged because I didn't get a contract with Bolton. But I really enjoyed playing with some and against some fantastic players.
Good to hear, Andrew.
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier, you made it to a lower division in the Italian system. Can you describe how you got there? I guess we'll start with that.
You were really good butchering the name. Interregionale is what it is. It's and that just means the interregional league. So the Interregionale was in just north of Venice, and it went maybe for a 150-mile wide, 20-mile height from Venice going up to the Prealps, and then across to the Yugoslavian border, and then across, not as far as Milan because that was too far, but almost to Lake Como. And it was a semi-pro. We're in the I say it was like the third division in England, but I don't know. I really don't know what it was. But I was in the Air Force, and I was an air traffic controller, and I was just juggling the ball outside the radar facility, which was below the control tower. And an Italian controller came down and just asked me, did I play calcio, play football? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, where did you play? And I told him, and he's like, I'm one of the directors on the team. Will you come and have a tryout with us? I'm like, sure. So I went to the stadium and tried out, and they got me. They sent me to England and got my license from England so I could play for AC Pro Aviano. And it was fantastic. When I got there, we were like 5 points adrift at the bottom of the league. They got a new coach, and he brought in new ideas, I think, for the team. And we both started at the same time. And one of the reports that I read was a really nice report that said I was the savior of Aviano that year, because the last game of the season we had to win to stay up, and we won 2-1. And it was the town was fantastic. We must have had a very small ground, maybe 6,000-7,000 people watching us. It was just fantastic.
You really, that's kind of like the dream, right? You know, when you look at a bunch of us a few D3 players and somebody who plays tennis, you know, not to, again, single you out, Connor, but you know, that we all can dream about playing in front of 70,000 in Old Trafford, but realistically, like, that type of stuff to be recognized on a local level is something that is really, really cool. It
was tremendous. Can I tell you about a little bit of how we got ready for the game?
No, that was actually going to be a question actually coming up. You know, what were your pregame rituals or superstitions? But please go ahead.
Well, at Aviano, what they did is when we played away, and it's the same when we played at home, but at home we did the same ritual. But when we played away, we would go and have an early lunch about 10 o'clock. It was all pasta, no meat. And they'd bring out big magnums of red wine. And I'm like, well, this is obviously for the directors and the directors' wives. But no, it's for the players. And the players are really drinking a lot of red wine before the game. And I'm like, what are you doing? They say, oh, bro, you must drink this. It's futsal. I give you energy and strength. I'm like, no. So they poured me a drink. I poured some sparkling water in it, and I drank that one drink over the next hour, but they drank 7 bottles of big Magnum champagne, red wine. Then we would go on a 5-mile hike in the pre-Alps and a walk to walk it all off. The coach would talk to everybody, and then we'd go to the stadium, and everyone would pass out. And we'd play well. It was weird.
That's really funny.
Never seen that before in my life.
Very interesting. So how would you compare where you were in the Bolton system compared to the Italian lower divisions, right? What would you compare kind of like the training style or the coaching style or the playing style in England versus in Italy?
I love the way they did it in Italy. I love the way, and you've heard me talk all the time. Play to feet, ball to feet, yep. Nothing through the space, into the space. Let the guy get the ball to his feet. In Italy, they played through the lines, and if they had to miss a line and get it to their striker, the striker just held it up, protected the ball, and then shared it, and then got in a high position. And it's something that I love to do because once I could lay a ball off, I know I could peel off the defender's shoulder, and it might come. And if it didn't come, I just kept working and getting the ball when I could. But I like playing ball to feet and through the lines and resetting the play, not forcing it. So I really loved the tactical elements of the game in Italy compared to England at that time. England at that time was a lot of get it to your left back and send a long diagonal all the time, and then get support to your striker, to your big guy up top. So it was a totally different game for me, but it's the game that I wanted to play. So I really enjoyed it. I thought that team was a very good team. In fact, in the last 10 games of the season, we might have lost maybe 1 or 2. I can't remember, but because we did so well at the end, we ended up staying up. So it was good.
Yeah, no, that was one of my questions because like I said, I played under you for 3 years, give or take, depending on if you count injury years or whatever, but we won't go into that. And I was always wondering where you took your philosophy from, because I knew you had played in a bunch of different areas, and I never really knew where it came from. But no, that was exactly what I was looking for. So great.
So going back to what you just mentioned about, drinking red wine and having pasta before pre-meals or pre-games. I mean, looking back, it's crazy to see and know now what we know about sports science and all this stuff, proper nutrition, hydration. I can safely assume that the upperclassmen at Alfred won't be drinking red wine next year before games. You ever just look back and
I can assume that too, but I know that what happens when we assume. I would hope that's
But yeah, do you ever just look back and knowing, what athletes go through now and the crazy diets and training stuff, you just laugh?
Not necessarily, because I want them to have that passion for the sport. In D3, we asked them to be an athlete for 3 months. And it's sad that some of them can't let go of some of the social life that they crave, and I'm okay with that. But they also say they love the sport of football. So I'm like, well, if you love the sport that much and you want to do and you want to get to the highest level that we think we can get to, these are the prices you have to pay. The prices you have to pay for many things in life is what you have to give up to get that. So.
Yeah, I agree. And that was part of when I played. Part of my issue being on the varsity team at Ithaca was it wasn't a mandatory rule, but I, for those 3 months, didn't drink. I ate as well as I could, but some of my teammates, and I have stories that we can talk about off air, but yeah, just did not take it the same way, and I just remember it really bugged me.
Yeah, and some of the players think they're being smart about it, and they think it's fun, and they think it's a laugh, and they think that I don't know what's going on.
Right.
When I look at them when they come into training, and I'm like, you've not been doing something right now. I know you've not, but you have. So it's sad. It's sad for me because I give everything I can. Hopefully, I hope Barney thinks I do as well. But I give everything, and all I want is to have the same respect coming back, so that we can create that team. And I think we've got a fantastic locker room now, and that the locker room is the driving force to the wins. The wins don't drive the locker room; it's the other way around.
All right.
All right, so I want to take it back to your times in Italy really quick. Did you find it tough to transition there with the language barrier?
No. It was a slight challenge, but as soon as I got the camo, solo, revescita, cross a longo, cross a corto, the basics. That's cross the ball long, cross it short, calm, you've got time, turn. Once I got them phrases down, it didn't take long to get them phrases down. So it's the universal language of playing with your head up, controlling the ball clean so you know where it is, so you can see what's going around, and people can see that you have that skill or ability to do it, and then you're seeing the movement. It's really easy to play the game anywhere in the world.
Were there any teammates or coaches that knew enough English to hold the conversation?
I had two players. I had the goalkeeper, and I think he played in an 8 position. It was a box-to-box midfielder. The goalkeeper was French, Italian, but spoke English, and the other guy was just Italian, and spoke English. The coach didn't speak a word of English. One of my first training sessions, I got the ball, and the midfielder told me that all he wanted me to do was dribble through the lines. So I got the ball about 25 yards out, and I danced past 3 players and put the ball in the back of the net, and he went crazy. He went ballistic. And I'm like, oh, what the have I done wrong? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, my gosh, what have I done? And I thought I'd done something wrong. But no, the midfielder said, no, he's upset with the defense that you just got through them so easy. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Oh yeah. No. So we'll take it now into your coaching career.
Actually, I thought you had something else. I actually have one. I have one for you. You have we could probably write a book on all of the little sayings and things that you can bring into a locker room or on the pitch. What's the best thing one of your coaches has ever told you?
So I think I might have said it in the locker room. I'm not too sure, but it was when I was 16 years old, playing for Little Lever in the Manchester Premier League. Now, this league was one of the top leagues in the Northwest at that time, and I'm playing in a men's league. I'm playing against 35-year-old men, all the way down to 22-year-old men, and I'm 16 years old. And I got beat up quite a bit in them games because this young kids bring that fancy stuff, and they just like kicked me a lot. So in the first half, I got off the field, and my coach said to me, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, the right back said I was playing left wing for this team. The right back said he's going to break my legs if I danced around him." And the coach said, "I'm going to break your legs if you don't start playing." So I was going to get my legs broken one way or the other, so I had a better second half. He also told me in one game that he said, "Tracy, you were magic that half." I'm like, "Thanks, coach." He's like, "No, you disappeared for 45 minutes." And I use that all the time now. Thanks, Barney.
To everybody except me, because I never disappear.
You're still missing.
Sure.
All right, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah. So we'll take it now into your coaching career. What made you, once you were done playing, decide to go into coaching? I know some players nowadays go into scouting, some go into more business ventures, and more and more now seem to get into managing. But what was it that made you decide this is the next step in my football career?
It took a while for me to get there. I played I was stationed in Berlin when the wall came down. And I stayed in Berlin, and the Germans offered me a job. I used to be an air traffic controller, so I worked air traffic control in the Berlin system till '97. And then when I came back to the States, I was just puddling around doing a couple of jobs. And I'm like, well, I'll get into coaching. But where we lived, there were no teams. So I just started refereeing because I wanted to stay involved in the game. Then when I moved to Pittsburgh, I got to where there was a hotbed of football, and I started coaching there. And then I realized that I was enjoying it because I wanted to try and give back some knowledge, if I had any, to the players that wanted to play. And then, like I said, I decided to get my licensings because I thought that it's important to get some kind of a certificate if I'm going to get paid to do this job. So I did my licensing and then realized I had to go to school and went to school. And my first job that I got coming out, because I had my diploma, my bachelor's degree, was a volunteer job paying me nothing. So it was well worth it. But now it is well worth it because I got the job at Alfred.
There you go.
Well, it took a while to get where I was going to be. I think if I'd have started back in the 80s when I lived in Vegas, before I even got to Italy to play, I think if I'd have started getting my licensing back then, I think it would have been totally different.
Okay. So when you obviously got your coach in this country, and I know because I'm taking classes to get my D license in a couple months, assuming the world's currently not ending.
Yeah.
Is the similar kind of track to the UEFA licenses where like you just build up and up and up until you get your pro license?
It is. The USSF A license is recognized all over the world as an A license in football, on the same par as the UEFA or KNDB and anything in the Netherlands, or the English FA A license. They're all recognized at the same level.
Okay.
I think that the pressure of getting your A license in England or in Europe or in maybe in Brazil, Argentina, would be a little bit higher than getting your A license here in the United States, purely and simply because of the level of instruction that they have and the knowledge in the game that they have over there compared to over here. I think it's just, I really think it's a different beast. And I'd love to go for my UEFA A. It's just, I just can't afford it.
True. Yeah, I've seen some of those prices from the higher licenses.
Yeah, I was looking at the pro, and I think it's like 25,000 or something. Yeah. Traveling back. Now, I have family in England, so I can live there for free, but it's still a lot of money just to satisfy me, because I'm not gonna coach in the National League or the Pro Leagues or anything like that. It's not gonna happen. I might have to coach for Everton when they get relegated, but that's about it.
That's fine.
I was just about to say I'll give a call out to Paul Vecchio and talk about your salary, see if we can get some help. But I don't know after that. I don't know.
Please do. Thank you.
So what was it that made you decide that you wanted to coach at Alfred? So like, why Alfred?
Well, I was assistant coaching at Oswego on the women's side. Assistant coaches in D3 don't get paid a lot of money, so I had 5 jobs in coaching to try and earn a living wage, and I could scrape around a living wage by doing them 5 coaching jobs. And talking with my wife. We were living in Oswego. She's a professor at Oswego State University. And I said, well, 5 hours distance from our house, I'll look for jobs within a 5-hour distance. Then realizing, well, 5 hours is like Vegas on a plane. So 5 hours is a little bit too much. So we cut it down to 3 hours. And Alfred is 2.5 hours from my house. So when I heard that the job was up, I was actually recruiting for Oswego, for Cortland. And the female coach at Alfred was a good friend of mine, I would say. And she said, Tracy, don't you know that Alfred's applying, asking for a men's job? I'm like, no, I never saw it. And I didn't see the job. So she told me to apply. And unfortunately, I had the interview and I got it. And I absolutely love Alfred University. I absolutely love the place that I'm at. They're fantastic. They really, really care about their students. And I really love where I'm at Alfred University. I couldn't have found a better place for me. So I'm not looking to go anywhere else. Of course, like I said, when Everton come knocking, I'll go and be Everton's coach. I work with Duncan, because that would be fun. That would be fun, being in the locker room with Duncan Ferguson when they've not done what they're supposed to do in the first half. Oh my God, that would be so fun, because he's a beast of a man.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Just seeing him on the sideline in interim terms, he looks intimidating. I can't imagine going behind walls and playing with him. You also left out the other favorite part of AU, and that was your captain this year that was less than 6 feet tall.
My captain that was less than – no, I only had one captain. He was 6'6". Oh, no, I see the other one. The best non-playing captain in the history of the sport. Yeah,
that's actually the reason I was telling them again last episode that I'm supposed to have my jersey right around here, but I heard he's getting retired so that I can't have it back. But that's all right. I'll make that change. Boss, why don't you touch a little bit more on you touched a little bit on it, but go a little bit more in depth into your coaching philosophy. The type of players you look for, the way you like to play. You talked about the locker room, what type of locker room you're looking for, things like that.
Okay, so I like players who I like intelligent players. And what does that mean? Can they get a degree in engineering? Congratulations, Barney, at Alfred University. Or do they have intelligence in the game? So when I first got to Alfred, we had too many players that didn't have soccer sense, soccer intelligence. And I'm hoping I'm creating that soccer knowledge so that when I talk something tactically, they get it a little bit quicker than we used to. And I'm not slamming any of my old players. I thought we did really well that first year. Unfortunately, I think in the first year I did lose the locker room in the last 3-4 games, and that hurt us in the end, not making it to the playoffs. And we can all take a little bit of blame for that. The players can take a blame, and I'll take the blame that I lost the locker room. And it wasn't a good feeling, because I think I said back then I've never been a loser. So after that, I like to play through the lines. I like to play the way you're facing. The boys might not know my never evers, but the never evers are never ever lose the ball on a one-touch pass, never ever lose the ball by dribbling out the back, and never ever lose the ball by turning in your own half. If you can cut them never evers down to a minimum, and with the passion, commitment, and desire that you should have on the field, you'll be successful. So them are the never evers that I portray to everybody every year, and hopefully we get it better. I've got a low battery.
Oh, no. You need to grab a charger?
Sorry?
You need to grab your charger?
I am. I've just put it in. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. Yep.
There we go. So, yeah, the reason I ask, right, is because you've got two people. I don't know if Connor is part of this, but I know Adam and I are both looking into getting into coaching at some point. Adam, as he mentioned, is already going in. And once I get settled in good old Kentucky and find a place to work, that's definitely something on my list. So the ideas of coaching philosophy are really important. I know Adam can speak to the idea of playing with a bunch of people who might not necessarily know the game very well. I know he's got a good story about that. I don't know if he wants to share it.
Not on air. Might not be the place for that.
But no, and that's why I ask is because it's it's the little things that when you hear over and over and over again that once you can get people believing in what you believe in, it makes you just that much of a better coach. So that's the only reason I ask.
And it's a simple game. We want you to do the right thing when you're on the ball and the right thing when you're off the ball. And it's just made complicated by the other team. So when you're on the ball, do you keep it when you should? Do you pass it when you should? When you're off the ball, do you make the correct movement? Is your head up and seeing what your teammates are doing? So it's a simple game, and yet it's so hard to play for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite part of being a coach?
Oh, the boys keep me young. The boys just keep me young. I mean, you learn so much crap from. Oh, sorry. You learn so much stuff from them. They just keep you young. It's fantastic. I'm in the game. It's a beautiful game, and I tell my wife, I said, if I die on the soccer field, you just know I've died and I was happy. So it's one of them where it's all I do is this sport. I do play golf, and I actually hit a tennis ball a couple of weeks ago, but I think that was out of frustration. But it's a beautiful sport, and I just envelope myself, engulf myself in it all the time.
Is it challenging being a collegiate coach because of you only have these players for 3-4 years and then they're gone? So any tactical stuff, any system change that you're trying to implement, you have to keep, redoing over and over and over.
I think now we've had the change at Alfred. Right now it is my team. There's nobody else brought these players in but me now because I'm starting my 4th year. So it's now my team. And I think we have a very, very good locker room that's going to nurture the boys coming in. And we're going to grow with that. So it's not the fruits on the tree. It's the roots and the caring of everything else. And that's the locker room. That's the nurturing of everything to get that reward of all that fruit. And we were one off it last year, getting to the NCAAs. We made it to the final of the Empire 8. And I'm hoping that this year we can go one more. Of course, everybody else in the league is hoping that they can go and get to the final and go one more. But we're hoping that we only lost 4 seniors this year, Barney being one of them. And we're hoping that
3 seniors,
with the strength that we have, we'll be able to compete a little bit better. We won quite a few overtime games, didn't we, Barney?
Yeah, we did. We pulled a lot out.
Yeah, I'd like to win in regulation, but we might even have a JV team this year, Barney.
Really?
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, we might do a JV team this year because I think we're going to have 36 players in the locker room.
I love that. I absolutely love that because that was an issue for a long time. Is the only reason I was ever on this team was because we had 23 kids when I showed up, and they just needed players. And I asked for a walk on, and he just took me. And I'll remember that was the best day of my life. And
my first, go on, buddy. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was about to say, and to see the ability to build something up like that and get a bunch of people, because not only was it 23 players, it was 23 players, a lot of which were there just because they could be there. They went to Alfred because it was either close to home or a place that they could go and play.
I think they played soccer in high school, and but they didn't play club soccer.
Yes, a lot of them were like that, and they just kept playing because they could. And it was kind of difficult in that sense because I think I was one of 3 players in my freshman year who ever played club ball, and it was very, very difficult. So to see you bringing in a lot of players that all have that type of experience is exciting for an alumni.
Well, this time 4 years ago, I had 12 players, and 4 of them were goalkeepers.
That's right. I
had 12 players, and 4 of them were goalkeepers. And the 8 players that had played, somebody told me that 4 of them had never set foot on the field. So I had 4 players with college experience. this spring, we have 28 players coming back. So it's been a quick growth, but it's been a good growth. I think we're doing good. You're right. It is tough moving things forward, but if you have to get back to the question, if you have that good locker room, it's easy to integrate the new people coming in. And I think we have that good locker room right now, and I think we're going to have a good season. Obviously, we might not, but I'm hoping we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know I'm looking forward to seeing them all. I'm going to have everything set up and the schedule downloaded whenever it starts, and I'll be watching and cheering from a couple of hours away.
Schedule is online right now.
Is it? It went up?
Yeah, it went up.
Oh, all right. I'm going to have to check that out while Connor asks his next question.
Times might be changed, but the times are up, but some of them have to be changed. Yes, Connor.
All right. So this could be from any of your different coaching jobs, but is there one moment in particular that you see as like your best coaching moment?
Oh my gosh. Barney, you know this. Was it last year, the year before? I think it was last year, the frozen ice game where Mason Sanborn, we won in overtime. Was it against Utica or Elmira? Utica, I think.
I think it was Utica away.
No, we were at home. It went to overtime.
Yes. It
was at home. It went to overtime, and we were playing Castle for our free kick. And at the end of the game, I said, "But when we do Castle, this time we will, instead of putting it in the box, we'll play it short." And so the other team, we were just shouting Castle, and Castle was just knock the ball under the crossbar, and would have 4 guys there around the goalie and try and put it in the back of net. So we'd done this about 5 times, and so in the first corner at overtime, I'm shouting Castle, Castle, and so Utica's all thinking that we're going to knock it into the box, and we played it short, and Vegas scored.
Yeah, he did. Wait, no, that was Fisher.
Scored.
It was Fisher. It was Fisher at home.
Was it Fisher?
It was Fisher at home.
Okay.
Yes, I remember this. Fisher at home.
And we played it short, and Zach Gloskin beat the first player.
Yep.
And had a low ball in the box, and we got it in.
Yep. Yeah. Fisher. Yep. Now I remember. Fisher at home, the last game of the season before playoffs, and we had already clinched. But if we had won, it was like records all over the place. Best finish, most wins, most points. It was that game was record setting for a lot of us. And yeah, that was oh man, that was a good one.
So that purely and simply that because it was a kind of like a bait and switch. That the other team didn't know we were doing it, and we executed it, and it was something that we just pulled out of our hat, talking to the players, just before they went into overtime. Yeah. So that might have been the best thing recently that I can think of.
So as much as I would love for everything to be a highlight, obviously there's some lowlights. Is there one in particular that stands out to you?
In coaching?
Yeah, in coaching.
I think again at Alfred, the first year losing the locker room with 3 games to go, I think we needed 1 point. Is that right, Barney?
1 point in 3 league games. Yep.
And we lost them all.
Lost every single one of them.
Yeah, so we played well. The team was upset. I was playing a squad like game. So when we're playing out of conference, I was letting the freshmen play more. And using it as a squad. So just like they do in the Premier League, if they're playing a team in the English League Cup and they want to rest their stars, they play somebody else. And I was doing that, and the boys were not happy with it. But they weren't. If they did play, they weren't competing well enough on Saturday. They didn't understand that they weren't fit enough to play in both games. And I had some upset players, and I think that is the worst thing. coming in, and coming into the locker room. I worked really hard because I understand. I've been in the game a long time. I understand how locker rooms can go against you, and unfortunately, I think it did in that first year. I had some good players, and I also had some players that thought they were a lot better than what they were.
I can vouch for that. I remember that happening.
Yeah.
So
and I said I'll
oh,
take the blame for it too. I don't think I'm the best coach in the world, and I don't think I know it all. If I did, I should get out of the game. So that's why I'm always educating myself, reading books, getting online, seeing sessions, and learning. When I'm out at a game, if I can get near a coach while he's doing his halftime talk, I want to be there and listen to see if he says something that I like that I can use, because there's nothing that no one has the secret. We just do things the same but in different ways.
What do you think is one of the most important things that a young player can learn going into it, whether it be a first year in college or an 8-year-old on the field?
Say that again, Barney.
What would you say is the most important thing that a young player can learn about the game, right? A player who is either first year in college or a U11, U12 player looking to make the next step.
I think as soon as we can start talking about roles and responsibilities in a position, the better we'll be. So depending on the level of a player, because we can have some 11-year-olds that are playing like 14, 15-year-olds, not physically per se, but they might be. But tactically, they might have that knowledge, and they might have been involved in the game for a long time and really, really show that skills, that they're special. But I think it's roles and responsibility and learning, like I said before, to do the right thing at the right time. I've never heard, never in all the books I've read and all the training logs that I have, I've never heard a role and responsibility to go dribble past 3 players, keep your head down, and when you have a chance, shoot or pass it. I've never heard that as a role and responsibility. Even for Messi, that's not his role and responsibility. So I think what happens is we find players, and this is all over the world, this is probably in England too, all over the world. We find players that are physically stronger than other players, and they play up top until they score 2 goals, then they play in midfield, and then they go in the back for the win of the game. Nobody's going to remember who won that under-12 game when they're 22 years old, except the coach. So the coach is using these kids for his own success. I have 70 trophies that I finally just let them go, and I kept a couple from when I was young, and they've traveled all over the world with me. But I'm like, why am I keeping these? They never come out the box. They just travel from one box, from one storage area to another storage area all over the world. So finally, I let them go because it was silly for me to keep them. I have the memories inside my head. I think I still remember them. But it's roles and responsibilities, and then adapting your play to what the opposition is giving you. I think I've told you all the time that we try and find the opposition's weakness and exploit that, and we try and find their strengths and minimize that. So that's what we do that's what I do when I look at tape, and that's what I do when I'm talking to the team throughout the week. And formations are a big part of it. Playing 3 at the back, playing 4 at the back, playing 5 at the back, whatever you have, it's just a different role and responsibility wherever you're playing in that different formation. It's 1 in the goal and 10 outfield players. What you're going to do with the 10 outfield players.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to transition now, and I'm actually going to ask back-to-back questions here, but we're going to transition into more of a comparison between MLS, because this is an MLS podcast, right? So we want to bring that in and then kind of talk to you about the way that you've seen football in the world and kind of how we can implement that here. So, and I don't want to bring up any hurtful memories, but we don't have pro rel here. I want to know what it's like to see a team go from greatness to relegation and then all the way down to administration, because it doesn't happen here. So what are people who are pro rel fanatics? I'm looking at a few of our hosts here. What are these people in for if MLS does go the pro rel route?
So go all the way from the Premier League to the Championship to the First Division to the bottom of the First Division, go into administration, and then come out of administration. Just want to finish that.
Yes.
Come out of administration with a 12-point deficit started the league. So the passion, growing up in England, you have your team. So whoever your team is, that's your team forever, unless you're not really a fan, which is short for fanatic of the sport, of the team. So I grew up near Bolton, and I became a Bolton Wanderers fan. People grew up in Bolton, and for some reason they're a Man United fan. I don't get it. Or you grow up in Liverpool, and you're a Liverpool fan, or you're a Liverpool Reserves fan, or Everton, as we call it.
That's Southampton. Don't start.
And it's the pro relegation. So what's hurt the game right now is the money in the game. Unfortunately, what's helped the game is the money in the game. So it's a double-edged sword. The Premier Leagues are getting rich, and rich. You were saying the Premier League. Bolton were in the Premier League for 13 years, which I only found that out today. I thought they were only in for like 8, but they're in for 13 years. United, of course, have been in for all 27 or whatever it is. I don't know.
What?
So Everton's never been relegated.
That's right.
Chelsea hasn't either.
Who's that?
Chelsea.
Chelsea haven't?
Not from the Premier League, but maybe the old First Division in like the 60s.
Yeah. So I thought Chelsea had been relegated, but not from the Premier League. Premier League started in what, 91?
91, yeah.
So we can't go with a promotion relegation here because we're set up as a state, as a whole 48 continuous United States league, and it's going to be hard for them, USL teams to come up, and then with the small stadiums that they have to travel all the way to LA Galaxy and then play up in Portland and play another game at Real Salt Lake and then come back. They just don't have the money for that. But I think, and like I said earlier, I think if we went to a regional tournament where, like in New York, we could have teams in all the major cities, and around New York City, we could have 5 teams on the island. We could have 4 teams in the city.
Yeah.
And then you say upstate is Poughkeepsie. We could have a team in Poughkeepsie. They'd be called the Poughkeepsie Pinkies. I don't know. What a name. But yeah, we could do that because they could travel and get back home and not spend time missing time. And I think it would work better if we segregated the states.
Yeah, I think the biggest point from that, and this may be different in other American sports. I genuinely don't pay attention to them well enough, but I just finished watching the Sunderland documentary on Netflix, and anyone who hasn't seen it, go watch it as soon as you're done listening to this. But when Sunderland lose or they're not doing well, the entire town of Sunderland or the entire surrounding area is essentially in turmoil. Like, businesses don't do as well. Like, the city lives and breathes on how the club does. And I don't see that in this country. Like, if the Red Bulls lose, yes, Andrew and I are disappointed. Our day might be ruined. But the area around the stadium is going to do the same regardless. Like, I don't see that level of just dependence on a team in this country.
Yeah, I mean, we have obviously Green Bay has that fanaticism for their team, and Pittsburgh is very similar with their team.
Mm-hmm.
And in Pittsburgh now they have a good USL team, and obviously they have hockey, and baseball and football, American football. So they've got a 4 or 5 team city. But again, moving the Pittsburgh Riverhounds into the MLS would take a huge investment of cash to get them where they need to be. They got a beautiful stadium. It might hold maybe
very nice.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've been there. It's very, very nice. Right on the water.
It's a beautiful stadium. I've coached there, so I've coached in that stadium. Yeah. But it's one of them questions where I love the fact that when I first came to the States, I could drive for 300 miles and maybe see one soccer field. Now I drive and I see them all over the place. It's a tremendous thing to see. Big complexes of soccer fields, and it's just soccer. It doesn't have a football field with it. It's just all for soccer. So I think that's great. We've come on so far. The women Title IX has done great for us with the women's team. That is why we have the best women's team in the league, is because we were there at the start of women's soccer, basically. And with the athleticism that we have, that's what now all the other teams are catching up to us. I was fortunate enough to be in Barcelona about a month ago, and I saw Barcelona play the first team play. I also saw Barcelona women's play Sevilla, and Dunn, the little I forget her first name, plays for the U.S. national team.
Crystal.
Sorry?
Crystal?
Yeah, Crystal Dunn.
Wow,
She was playing for Sevilla. And, oh, my God, these girls were good. Oh, my God. I said Spain might win the next World Cup because on the Barcelona team they had 7 Spaniards playing, and every one of them were class. First touch, moving the ball, resetting when they needed to. It was a pleasure to see. And we're in the Johan Cruyff Stadium, and that stadium probably holds about 15,000, and they were playing on that stadium on beautiful grass. It was just tremendous.
I've watched the men's team for Barcelona play in the new camp. To this day, it is a different, like, I don't know how else to explain it. It is a different level of football. Like, I've watched countless games in my lifetime. I've obviously played forever, but the way they move the ball is just unbelievable.
I watched the first 45 minutes just watching Messi
shut
off. He just shuts off. He just shuts off and allows the defenders to create space for him. And I liked doing that when I played up top. I was nowhere near could shut off as good as Messi, but I shut off too and allow that central defender to get away from me. I wasn't getting off his shoulder. He was getting away from me just by being magnetized towards the ball. And then when my player would look up and look for me, I'd ask for that push behind the defender into the space so I could get it. Now, I wasn't fast, but I could get. I had blistering pace over 5 yards. I wasn't fast at all, but I could get to them balls because I was in the right place to penetrate where he couldn't see me. But Messi was just, oh my God, unbelievable. He could have played another 3 hours and not scored. He hit the bar twice, hit the post, cleared off the line. Golden did a couple of great saves. Barcelona only won 2-0 against Levante, I think. But Messi was just a touch above everybody else.
Yeah, the game I went to see was a Champions League game against Lyon when they won 5-1 last year, 2 years ago. The entire stadium, when he scores, doesn't cheer, doesn't celebrate. They bow to him.
Wow.
The entire stadium just essentially chants his name and just does one of these.
Yeah.
And it's
Did you go on the tour?
I've been on tour, yes.
And they got the new Camp Nou?
Yep.
Did you see that?
Yep.
So they're building the new Camp Nou around the Camp Nou. So they're going to stay and play, but they're going to renovate it and make it bigger in the same spot and have a covered. They're going to be able to cover it too. They need to.
Yeah.
So awesome.
So I just want to piggyback off of Adam's Sunderland part really quick. I do think that potential, that potential, I don't know what the right word is. I guess passion for a soccer team in the United States is there. Just because I could see it with other sports. Like if the Knicks ever won a championship in New York, I think the entire state of New York would explode. But I think one day we could have that with soccer maybe as it continues to grow. So as of right now, yeah, I think it's not even close to being like that. But I think maybe one day we could get there.
Oh, one day you were going to say the Knicks were going to get there. I was like, no, what are you watching?
No, probably not ever.
So how many away games have you been to watching the Bulls?
I have gone to New York City away. Those are the only ones I was able to. And then I had plans to go to Cincinnati and Columbus since I'm only 2 hours and an hour and a half respectively. And
yeah,
then,
now you're out there, yeah.
Yeah, and then the season got put on hold, so we're waiting on that. But those will be my other two ones. So I haven't actually seen them play in a different soccer stadium. I've only seen them play on the baseball diamond, which is unfortunate because it's not a fun place to watch football. But
Adam?
Just Orlando away, I think, and NYC.
Okay. So that's that just shows my point a little bit. If we could get 20 teams in the Northeast, 22 teams in the Northeast, and play a league from there, and maybe share a stadium. I think we'd do a lot better.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now is because NYC had to play their Champions League game this year in Red Bull Arena. And they're basically saying at this point, you're not getting your own specific stadium, so let's just share it in New Jersey. And that might be where it's going. And I'm not sure how I'd feel about it. We've talked about it a little bit earlier, but if we continue to grow past we're going to hit 30 teams in 2 years, and there's no sign of slowing down. If that continues to happen, we're just not going to have space for all of these teams. So that's definitely a shout.
Yeah.
15 Super League, I'm telling you. Don Garber knows what he's doing.
You're insane.
I'm obviously kidding.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's gonna be a mess. I said when we talked about the MLS Liga MX 50-team nonsense, whatever that proposition was.
That was awful.
That was a mess. We have 4 teams, 4 conferences, 50 teams, and I don't know how the ruling would work. We just have 2 teams make the playoffs.
Sure, let's go with that.
Why I'm not paid to do these things.
Yeah, this is why you don't make the decisions, and that's why we're going to keep it that way.
Yep.
All right, so we got one last section here. Quick fire rapid questions. So right off the top of your head, not too much to think about. Just we're going to ask it, and then we're going to go into it. And then there's one that you might need to think about.
Okay.
So I'll let Adam go first. He's got the first one here.
Yep. So favorite goal as a player?
Diving header from the edge of the box. It curled into the net and hit the post and went in.
Nice. Your favorite teammate as a player?
Oh my gosh, favorite teammate. It's got to be. I don't know his last name. It's Guido from AC Aviano, the number 8.
Hardest defender you've ever played against. Hardest guy to get by.
Sam Allardyce.
Worst loss as a player.
Worst loss as a player. Don't have them.
Yeah.
Okay. High school. We lost in the Northwest Championships. We had a very good team in high school, and we lost in the Northwest Championships.
Adam, you can relate to that.
So,
I
Hey.
can't.
No, 'cause I didn't play in that
rarely
game.
lost in high school.
Yeah, I was sitting down that game.
Yeah, we'll go a quick segue here. Adam was starting left back for our high school team, one of the high school teams that was, talent-wise, probably one of the best that's ever come out of Comac. And
14th in the country my senior year.
And he tore his ACL in the county finals. And
No, I tore my meniscus.
Sorry, I'm not a doctor, but I was at that game. I don't know if I told you that. I've watched that game.
Like the whole school, we genuinely had like 350 kids, which at the time for Comac was unheard of.
Yeah, and then we went to the state finals and blew it out of the water. But that's
whatever.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, good times.
Your favorite stadium that you've coached at?
Univich Stadium, Alfred University.
I didn't even need to write it for him. I told you he was going there. Favorite place you've ever played?
Orange Ball.
Oh, yeah? Neat.
Least favorite team to play against?
Every other Empire 8 team.
Fair.
Love it.
Ithaca College. Well, not Empire anymore. We're in the Liberty League.
Yeah. Bunch of bombs.
Go
ahead.
Is there a least favorite team to coach against?
Again, everyone in the Empire 8. They all want to take that prize away from me.
That's right. And then this is the one we'll let you think about a little bit. You get two teams to play a three-a-side. So your first team is 3 players that you've played with, and then your second team is 3 players you played against. Who's on the team and who wins?
So the team I've played with, 3 players that I've played with.
Yes.
Sam Allardyce, Peter Reed, and Guido from Italy.
Okay. And then the
Very
3 against.
Very good player. 3 against Sam Allardyce. I played against him too, yeah, the 3 aside or whatever. Paul Jones, he was a Bolton center back as well. Very good center back. And Kevin Keegan.
Who wins?
We lose against Keegan.
All right. All right.
We lose Keegan.
Man, that's a good one. You know, we put this one in there for we didn't know we were going to ask it because we didn't know how successful it would be, but I think that was a good question to ask. I was happy with that. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Other last minute questions?
Well, I have a last question for myself.
Go ahead.
What is the player that you've coached that if you ever lost him made a big detriment to your season? And the answer to that is Juice and Barney. Yeah.
That's fair, but so for the guys who weren't there, we were playing. I think it was Boss's first year. Yeah, that was your first year.
First year.
And we talked about that slide where we lost 3 games in a row. We needed to get 1 point.
We were playing
Naz, and he messed up his foot.
Jesse Lichtman. He messed up his hip.
His hip, yes, it was his hip, and he was our center mid that he was the number 8 that did everything, forward and back, and he went down funny, didn't get up, and from there we couldn't replace him, and we lost 3 straight, and that is that was a good question. I didn't think about it, but that's a great question.
And the reason, and then so the doc said he can play, coach, but if he plays and he injures it more, he might not be able to walk. Mm-hmm. So Jesse says to me, Jesse Lickman is his name. His brother actually plays for
The
Naz.
Naz now. Yeah.
And I think Jesse wanted to play at first until I talked to him. I talked him out of it. I might be wrong on that, but I think he wanted to play. I'm like, no, you're not playing. I'm not going to be the cause of you being on crutches for the rest of your life. You're not playing. So, very good player. Very good player.
It's funny. You did the same thing with me when I wanted to keep trying to play goal. You said you're not letting me play anymore.
Correct.
That's why
Correct.
me and Jesse are one and the same. You know, he
That's
was a star. He was a star center mid.
Juice and you. That's
Yeah,
what I said.
yeah. He was a star center mid. When I came out of goal, I was a star center mid. Is there any striker combo you regret not playing in last season?
Wow. Well, we had. Yeah. I wish you were up there, Barney. Is that what you're asking?
Well. See, here's the thing, right? Eaton broke the record. Justin.
Yep.
Justin Eaton broke the record. Most goals for an Alfred University men's soccer player in a season. But it was agreed upon between both of us, and I'm pretty sure we didn't ask, but I'm sure everybody in the locker room agreed as well that if we were playing together, he would have had 30. Because as you know, I'm a great hold-up player and I've got good vision. Eaton's really fast. He would have had 30 goals, but neither.
The problem with Justin, and I told him, I said you could have scored 20 goals this year if you'd have stayed in the position that I wanted you to stay in.
Yep.
And yet he scored 13. He was rookie of the year, so he did enough for us. But we're trying to build a team around players like Justin and Andrew Carrillo and the other players coming in. We're trying to build players around that, so we're solid, not through 1 through 11, but 1 through 18, maybe 20. And if we can get that solid, obviously would be a threat to anybody.
Absolutely. But that's it from all of us. Boss, thanks again for coming on tonight. It was really great to hear about your time in England, in Italy, and comparing life here. And I guess, here's one question I don't think we've actually asked. So before we end everything, how do we make this league better? How do we improve it?
The MLS?
Yeah.
Again,
all right, so we'll do hypothetical. You're commissioner. Your first day as commissioner, what do you do to make this league better? Your first action.
I look at the money that we have in our junior league, in our second division, basically. So we have the MLS, and then what do we have? Is it USL?
USL Championship, USL 1, USL 2.
Yeah, so I'd look at the money that we have in the championship and see what we can do as far as creating something more, and then within the process, maybe starting a promotion relegation. And it could just be with a one-off game. The bottom team in the East plays the top team in the East in the USL. Whoever wins stays in their league, or gets relegated. Mm-hmm. So if the MLS teams win, they stay up there. But then after we've introduced it, maybe then we start having playoffs like they do, and extending the league and creating all that excitement. Because I know that in Albany, you could have a professional football team, soccer team in Albany that would get 25,000 people watching if they're playing against some of their superstars in the MLS. Mm-hmm. So it was called the – did I get it wrong? Is it MSL? No, MSL is the old one, isn't it?
NASL is the old one that's no longer around.
There's another one. There's an MLS, MSL that was before NASL, I think, or just after it.
Ah, that's way past my knowledge.
Yeah, it was dyslexia on the word. So one of my favorite sayings goes to the youngsters in the game, and Barney, you've heard it, of course. And the saying is, "It's amazing how much of the game you can see when you don't look at the ball." So you want the players to get their heads up and see what's happening, not moving into space that the teammates already moved into, recognizing where the defense is and getting off the shoulder. So it's amazing how much of the game you can see when you don't look at the ball. Thanks, boys. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Connor.
All right. Well, boss, thanks again for coming on tonight. Everybody go
Thank you.
check out Alfred University Men's Soccer everywhere on social media. Stuff that I set up, ran, and did a good job, I think, for the last 5 years. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube is all where you can find Alfred University Men's Soccer. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time on Designated Players Podcast. And go Saxons.
Thanks, Barnes.